Hey guys, it's Graham. Welcome back to Truckerman Reads. The subject of the day is the big DNF. It's only on my mind because in the last month I've punted on three books at different points in the reading. One of them I got maybe 5% of the way through it, and you guys know that meme of the interpreter who's tearing his headphones off because he's just so exasperated by what he's listening to. It felt that way, and this was an Audible book. I paused what I was doing and I took the 2 minutes to log in and return it. I was like, this is just awful, and it was especially annoying because maybe this is unfair, but with me being an advocate of the indies, when I come across a mainstream book that's bad, you kind of expect it because you come across several of those that are bad. But I want to buy into the idea that indies are the ones that got rejected for other reasons that are immaterial to the quality of the work. So when I run into one of those that's terrible on the merits, it's like, okay, dude, you're not helping here. And this was just one such book. I found out about it through my larger network of indie reader and writer friends, and this one, like I said, was available on Audible. So I spent a credit on it. I thought, okay, cover art looks good, premise sounds interesting. I got about 20 minutes into it the other day, and finally I had so many moments where I just WTF'd out loud while I was working in the trailer that finally, after the fourth or fifth one, I just, why? Why am I going to expect that this will get any better if this is the tone set right from the starting line? I think I've let myself become too much of a victim of whataboutism, or maybe like, well, you didn't get all the way through, maybe it gets better later, maybe there was a reason for it, maybe. No, fundamentals are what they are. First chapters have to be strong, and in the first chapter, you really need to set and establish the tone for what the rest of the book is going to be, and I'm tired of giving so many books the benefit of the doubt, say, oh, maybe this is the exception to the rule, and then you get halfway through and you realize, like, no, this, what they set up in the beginning of the book, in the first chapter, in the first paragraph, is as bad as this book is going to be, and it's not going to get better. In this case, it was a post-apocalyptic scenario, and as one might expect, with the collapse of society and societal norms and law enforcement, women will be a disproportionate percentage of the victims when there's no longer the societal enforcement behind norms. When it comes to conduct between the sexes, I guess here is where I will warn you that if you're somehow listening to this with young ears around, I'm gonna touch on some sensitive subjects. All right, so maybe listen to this one later without the chitlins. But anyway, this book opens up with this girl who reminds the reader a couple of times of her age and that she is just barely legal, which we're talking about a book that is in a post-legal world, but she needs the reader to understand that she's 18. Haha, the writer is definitely not about to write a scene where a teenage girl is threatened with the rape word. And these two guys are chasing her, and oh no, what do I do? They're gonna rape me. And I say that because the author explicitly states that is the threat and the hazard that she is facing multiple times within the first 20 minutes of this audiobook. I thought, okay, one would have been fine, two would have reiterated that, and any reader that needs it said more than that is probably not smart enough to be reading this book, to not glean it from the context that, oh no, society has collapsed, and here's a young, attractive female, and she's being chased by two unruly males who are going to do stuff to her. Like, a competent reader can extrapolate from the pieces on the table what the hazard is. And unless your prose is so purple and so tortured that it's actually unclear what you're saying, you don't need to say it 15 more times. a good guy shows up, he saves her from getting raped, and then he's checking her out, and oh, she's hot. Oh my goodness, which head am I thinking with? Like that right there is where I spiked the ball. And it's like, if this book can't stop being horny for 300 words, I'm not going to give it the benefit of the doubt to get the rest of the way through it. Spiked it, returned it, got my credit back. I'll use it for something else. Annoyed the heck out of me. And that was an indie or small press production. A similar experience happened with a mainstream published book that I had to wait to get it from the library because it's by an established author, like kind of a titan of sci-fi and speculative fiction. And it seemed like it was going to be a good Halloween book. And I thought, okay, right out of the gate, there were some warning signs, but I was like, well, it's horror. You're going to be dealing with some dark corner type subjects. Like it's not going to be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. You're going to have some unsavory elements to it, which is fine. I've got a threshold, and for half the book, it wasn't crossing that threshold until suddenly it did. And this guy was on a date, and he's with this girl that he's older, and he knew her back when they were in school, and now like, hey, stuff might happen. And then he gets attacked by this supernatural entity that puts horrific images in his head. There's a way to depict that to where the reader can understand what's going on without the writer going into excessive and torturous detail about what's suddenly being put in this man's mind. Like, basically, this demon was, again, like pushing the dude to fantasize about raping this girl on the date. Like, why are we doing this? I mean, yes, there's the vulgarity of it, and there's me as a reader. My personal threshold is that I don't read rape and fiction. But even setting that aside, that's my personal line. Like, there's an objective, general line of decency. Like, why are we writing this into entertainment? To the extent where, like, I encountered it here, I encountered it with that indie book, and I encountered it with one more before that. Like, in the last month, I've punted on 3 books that not only had that as a component, and I understand that there is a constructive way to present that in a story and then counter it with something, some right way to resolve the scenario. But the author was just going on and on in excessive, grotesque, lurid detail about the images that this demon entity was putting into the protagonist's mind about what to do to this woman next to him. And what the hell? What the hell? I DNF'd on that one as well. There's a comedic way to approach this. I talk about this with my brother every now and then. He and I read this terrible Dan Brown book, redundant, back in 2013, where Dan Brown thought he was being clever, and he wrote a scene a certain way in Act 1 of the book, which later you find out in Act 3 was revealed to not be what he explicitly laid it out to be. Basically, these two characters hook up and have sex, and there's an awkward way that he words things where it's like, what's going on here? To describe that these two characters are totally getting it on, and that they're gay, and then like the plot reveal is that in the third act, one of these characters was actually a secret cross-dresser, but they totally didn't have gay sex, they had heterosex, but you, the reader, only thought that it was gay sex because I, the writer, lied to you about it. Like, this is not clever writing, you're just dumb. And so every once in a while, my brother and I will read a bad book, and we'll refer to that old bad Dan Brown joke about those two people who were definitely, like, not straightly getting it on as an example of bad writing. And this was like that, but taken to a vulgar extreme with an extremely sensitive subject matter. And there was no, I mean, especially in the first one, like, there was no redemptive quality to it. And I'm not going to wade through the rest of an audiobook with the indie one to get all the way to the end to see, oh, maybe there's a reason for mentioning this over and over and over again. It's bad skill as a writer. It's freaking abuse of the attention span of the reader. Like, on top of it all just being indecent and vulgar. I mean, you You can sweep my protests under the rug as, well, Graham, you're a corny Christian dad. Okay, sure, fine, whatever. Even separating that, you're still treating the reader like they're stupid. And there are very few things that that'll just drive me to completely scrap a book faster than that. You bore me, you treat me like I'm stupid. Like those are top three. Maybe I'll figure out the third one. Maybe I'll actually write it down. I don't know. Who the hell cares? In summary, that's why I punted on those books earlier this month. Don't write bad books, because I'm not going to read them. Drive safe. See you out there.